All right, welcome into PressBox's Project Game Day. It's brought to you by AJ Michaels, helpmygamblingproblem.org, and Superbook Sports. I'm Glenn. Femi Ayanbadejo is here. Reeta is going to join us in just a second. She's trying to pay the tab and get finished up wherever she was out watching the game today. And obviously, what a game it was. Can't ask for a lot more than what the Ravens were able to do, as they're still finishing it up right now. And we'll have a final score in a minute, but they absolutely crushed the Lions today in week 7 as they improved to 5-2 on the season. Femi, I'm going to start with this question broadly, right?
Ooh, sorry, I thought there was a pick almost right there.
Yeah, I thought it was too, right? Like on top of everything else that has gone right today. Some games are stories about who a team is, about exactly where a team is. Some games are stories about where both teams are and who both teams are. Some games are just games. They're just days where certain things go certain ways and it leads to certain results. Is today a reflection of the Ravens finally putting everything together and this is who they are? Or is there still maybe a little bit of, yeah, this might be too much for us to assume that this is what they are moving forward?
No, I think that quantitatively, you can't assume that this is going to happen every day, but qualitatively, this is who they are. There's levels to this game, and the Ravens have proven that over decades. Detroit just got here, and I respect Detroit. I think they're a good football team, but I had a quiet confidence about the game this weekend because I had a feeling that they'd show up. And Coach Harbaugh has found so many ways to reinvent himself each season. He's really good at looking at what's working and what's not working. And I want to give him a lot of credit today because there's a difference between being aggressive, which Coach Monken was, and there's a difference between being a risk taker, which Coach Harbaugh was not. You can be aggressive philosophically, but still be minimized in the kind of risks that you take. And I really love the play calling today. Coach Monken did not revert back to old habits in regard to taking his foot off the gas. In the NFL and in Division I football, every week we see teams blow leads in the fourth quarter because philosophically they are abandoning their strategy, which is aggression, which is unpredictability. And they really did a hell of a job today not being predictable, being aggressive, but not being risk takers. And that to me is the narrative of the story. And as I said, there's levels to this game. The Ravens, from a franchise perspective, are at the upper echelon. They're at that top level. Detroit has been a good football team for the last calendar year, the last full year. But maybe they just bit off a little more than they could chew today. But by no means is Detroit done. By no means do I not think they're not going to win the NFC North. I think they are going to win the NFC North. I think they're going to be a playoff team. But to come to Baltimore, knowing that we knew who Detroit was. The Ravens got to hear for weeks now what Detroit is and what they're not. And the bottom line is that the Ravens are laying track in front of them while the train is moving, which is hard to do during the season, but they're doing it. And I give them kudos for that because today the nation doubted the Ravens today, but we said not so fast. And that's what I'm happy about.
All right. Let me go to Reeta in a second, but I'll tell everybody, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Reeta, I led Femi with this question. You know, football games sometimes are just football games, right? Goofy things happen, and it's not really a reflection of two teams. Did you think today was a reflection of where the Ravens are going and then putting everything together? Or did you think it was a football game where some things happened, and if these teams played next week, it probably wouldn't be anything like this?
No, I mean, I look at it like the Ravens, the way that they played today is what we've expected from this team all year long. And defensively, they have continued to play the football that we knew that they were capable of playing. The offense has always been the question mark, and the biggest question has always been, are they able to sustain and continue to be effective in the second half? And today, to me, they've been able to find a way to do that. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think I'm with you, Femi. I do think that the Lions will win the NFC North. I do think that they're the best team out of that division. I think that they will go to the playoffs. I think that the Lions are a good football team. I don't want to be disrespectful. I've already been disrespectful on my timeline, but I'm going to be a little bit more logical, right? But ultimately, the talent level of the Lions and to me, the talent level of the Ravens are not one of the same. And this is the type of game that the Ravens needed to have, because this is what fans and probably the people inside the castle thought that this Ravens team, that the one that we saw today, was what they thought that this team would be in the entire 2023 season. So the Lions don't scare me, dog. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. They're not. And now I could say this with David Montgomery not playing. I don't know what they would look like with him being present, because we know that he is a big part of what they do on offense. But ultimately, it doesn't change. It doesn't move the needle for me a ton. I think that the Ravens are still more talented. And I love the fact that Lamar had the game that probably was going to happen a couple of weeks ago in Pittsburgh, but ended up happening against an opponent like the Detroit Lions, who everybody has been high on thus far.
But Rita, I'll tell you this too. Let me add one thing. If the Ravens don't have the Pittsburgh game and the Ravens don't have the Colts game, I don't think this happens today.
I completely agree. I agree with that.
It made them look in the mirror, because there's that phrase, you either win or you learn. They learn from those losses. You know what I mean? And real quickly, I just want to hit a couple of bullets, because if I don't get them in now, we might just move past them, because the Ravens, it's a blowout and it's easy for us to be relaxed right now. But the reality of it is best opening drive of the season, best pass protection of the season. They used the looks that they were running zone read and outside zone on, and they ran RPOs off of, and Lamar threw those footballs, one to Odell, the check downs today to Gus and everybody else. Lamar did not check the ball down very well his first couple years in the NFL. He had 25 yards to running backs today. You know, I know one of them was 80 yards?
80 yards, yes.
Yeah, so, but I'm just saying that, like, the check down, as a player who's a running back and who played a lot on third down, I know how important it is to have a good third down back that can pass protect, but also catch the ball. And the backs and tight ends pass protected their asses off today. Lamar had 10 seconds on that touchdown to Aguilar. The last thing I'll say that
he created some of that, obviously, with the spin move to the outside, right? But yes, there was great protect. Yeah,
good job, Glenn. Way to get that in. Good job, Glenn. Glad you shared that with us, because that was eye-opening. And then the last thing I'll say, I didn't like that because you interrupted me, brother.
They won by 100, and we're gonna find a way to fight.
Don't talk about mayonnaise or mustard today.
We can talk about flatulence instead.
Don't do that either. So the thing, Rita, that I talked about before you came on was this idea of aggression versus risk. Coach Monken was aggressive today, but the Ravens did not take unnecessary risk. There's a difference. People think that those are the same thing. No, there's nuance there. They're not the same thing. Don't get it twisted, right? You have to know when to put your foot on the gas and leave it on the gas. And you have to know in critical downs, third down, fourth down, money downs, are we going to kick a field goal? Are we going to go for it? Like, what are we going to do? Coach Harbaugh has made a conscious effort since probably the Pittsburgh game now, because I saw it last week and I've seen it this week, where he was taking a lot more risk. He's like, no, we don't need to do that. We got the best defense in the NFL. We have an up-and-coming offense. We got the best player in the NFL in regard to just ceiling. Lamar has the highest ceiling in the league. Is Pat Mahomes probably the best quarterback in the NFL? Yeah, absolutely. Was everyone saying that Jared Goff was outplaying Lamar up to this point, which is questionable? I know the statistics say one thing, but when you watch the games, it's different. I like where they are mentally. I like the control, and I like the philosophy of Coach Monken saying, you know what, we've learned from past mistakes about coming out in the second half and taking our foot off the gas. So kudos to them for that.
And yet they did go for it on that first drive, Femi.
Yeah, but I thought it was good. I thought it was a good decision, though. I was okay with that in the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? Because I think they knew they needed to put up 7. And obviously, if they didn't get that, we'd be having a different discussion.
It's funny because I think you would say, hey, was that necessary in the moment? I think to get where you got here, in order to make the Lions feel like they were out of it and that they had to start getting desperate very early. They were going for it on fourth down in the first half. The Lions were already feeling that way. You don't get there without making a decision like that. To me, Rita, you said something about the rosters, and the follow-up that I had, and I'll give it to both of you. I don't know 1 from 53 how dramatically better the Ravens roster is than the Lions, but there's one area that I was reminded Lamar Jackson is the answer. Like, that's the answer. They don't have that. And this is not the trash Jared Goff, who we all know is better than what his reputation would suggest he is, right? His reputation is he's at best mid. He's been a little bit more than that, but he ain't Lamar.
I've never agreed with that. The statistics don't bear that out. He went to a Super Bowl as a second-year player.
Yep.
He's been playing probably statistically the best QB
I agree.
rating over the last 17 games.
Exactly.
So Glenn, don't fall into that national.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't.
Glenn and I agreed that we've always said that Jared Goff has been better than what the national media has made him out to be. And I think that we can all agree, like him not having Cooper Kupp and him not having the running back, Todd Gurley, really played a role into that loss against New England, right? But
my point is that he's still not Lamar Jackson. Like,
no, there's only one of those guys though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That to me is the separation.
Yeah, but there are guys that can play in the pocket and do some amazing things. Justin Herbert, obviously, Pat Mahomes, right? I mean, there's a bunch, right? I can't say there's a bunch and there's a few, but my point is that there are guys that you can win with at the position, and they just have they don't have the complete skill set that Lamar has. You know, Josh probably Allen. It's more physicality than finesse. You know, he's more of a Mustang, a 5.0, and Lamar's more of a Ferrari, but they both are effective in the way they play. But I think that Jared Goff has really pure, true arm talent as a passer. You know, when you just watch him throw the football, it's elite. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And, unfortunately, he just ran into a buzzsaw today. I would say, to answer your roster question, there was never any doubt in my mind who has the better roster, 1 through 53. The Ravens stand out to me in two places massively. It's the quarterback position and it's the defense. God bless Detroit's defense. They're good, but they're not the Ravens' defense.
They never were. Thank you.
Yeah.
They were a top 3 defense coming into today.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I care about who
played. They're still not the Ravens.
I can both agree with that and also say, but I do still think it's a statement. Now, the Ravens have played 2 top 3 defenses this year and have had no real issue with either one of them offensively.
That's true.
I think that's significant. That this is not, it's one thing if they're playing the Browns defense, which has backed it up basically every game they played this season. The Lions have shut down basically everybody they played this season. The Ravens had no trouble moving the ball whatsoever today. I do think that matters in how we measured this. I do think that makes this outcome mean a little bit more. Not to say, you might be right. I do agree that on the whole, I think the Ravens defense probably will prove to be better than the Lions defense is. But I think the Lions defense is really good, and the Ravens still had no issue with them today, and I think that's noteworthy.
Yeah. You know who has the number 1 statistical defense since week 9 of last year, right?
The Ravens.
Is it Baltimore? Yeah.
The answer was obvious, right? It was give me the answer.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Femi. I want to say that
you didn't yell at Reeta like you yelled at me for cutting you off.
I don't yell at women like that, brother. Sorry, I yell at men like that.
Because I'm a lady, and I also apologize. For cutting him off too, like you, because you are very rude, Glenn. But I would like to say, I feel like we had this conversation last week. I think we looked, or Glenn, was it you and I on the show, and Femi came on and we talked about the schedule for the Lions. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the Chiefs really feel like the main team that they won that has some credibility. They lost to the Seahawks, and then everybody else that you see that they beat, it's like, oh, okay, I don't really have an opinion about those teams, whether they're good or bad anyway. So to me, since the Chiefs, and probably maybe since the Seahawks, I don't know if you look at the Seahawks to be like a contender of sorts, but since the Chiefs game, to me, the Ravens were the real contested opponent that they've had this season. And I mean, they flopped badly. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that the argument, and if we're going to play the other side of it, right, to put ourselves in our opponent's shoes, Kansas City didn't have Travis Kelce in that game. They dropped a lot of passes in that game. Similar to how the Ravens gave that game away to the Colts. You know, I think that the Kansas City-Detroit game was similar, but I give Detroit a lot of credit. And I think another thing that weighed on me, I just had this quiet confidence all weekend. I was like, we're about to really see what's happening. There's levels to this. And Detroit's, they had a fast ascension, but you got to have bumps in the road to learn, right? You got to have those bumps in the road. Detroit's going to be better from this loss. But ultimately, I felt like if the Ravens and they tried to make the mistake, once again, my man Justice Hill, every time he has a turnover on a fumble on an exchange, I just don't understand it. I lost my damn mind.
I'm
And
sorry,
I thought, like,
I credit Lamar for that. I'm sorry. Me and you
no,
might
that's
not
not on.
agree
Nope,
here.
that's not on Lamar. Rita, let me tell you how this works. This is called
It's
zone.
on Lamar.
No, it's not on Lamar. I'm gonna tell you. I play the position. Let me tell you why. You want to hear? You want me to tell you how?
I'm listening.
It's Lamar's choice. Lamar was going to keep that football, and Justice held on to it. That's on Justice.
I looked at it as Lamar held on it too long.
No, Lamar was going to keep it. Lamar was
Right.
going to keep it, and he should have kept it. If you looked at the run lane that he had in front of him, he would have got a 15-yard or 20-yard run. It's called zone read. The quarterback makes the choice.
I understand.
It's on the running back. It's on the running back. Justice Hill. And the reason why my issues with look, Rita, you can shake your head all you want to. I'm telling you the truth. You can listen to me.
We're just not going to agree here.
No, well,
I'm listening.
hey, listen. I'm telling you how the play works. I'm telling you the philosophy of the play. The quarterback makes the choice. It's on him. The running back needs to let the ball go. And Justice Hill got thirsty and he held on to the ball. That is not on Lamar. When it's on Lamar, I'm going to tell you what it's on Lamar. It's not on Lamar. It's Lamar's choice. And Justice Hill, as usual, but Justice Hill's a repeat offender. He's a repeat offender on this.
But I think that's why you're crediting him for that fumble, because I do agree with you that he is a repeat offender, but I do not agree with you that was on Lamar this time.
I don't know how you can disagree with me, because the predicate of
because
the play
Lamar,
quarterback,
to me, Lamar is hesitant on what it is that he's trying to do.
No, he was not hesitant.
Like
he was trying to keep the ball, and Justice Hill grabbed it from him. You got to trust me on this. Hey, look, if I come to your work and tell you how things work, you can yell at me. I'm telling you how things work at my job.
I mean, he was credited with the fumble anyway.
It's
so
on
I don't know.
It's on Justice Hill. I have no problem. I have no problem telling you when Lamar. I have no problem telling you when Lamar messes up. I'll tell you right now. That play right there is on Justice Hill. Period. End of story.
Ken and I are having fun with this right now. Ken and I are enjoying this. We're sitting back.
Hey, she can disagree with me all she wants.
It's the most fun I've had since the first quarter.
All right, but let's cover. I want to touch on a couple things because Ken, this is a great place for me to bring you in. How are you going to fire John Harbaugh today? How are you coming up with it?
No, I was ready to fire him after the first touchdown, and then he instructed Tucker to kick the ball short, and almost flipped my lid. I was like, can we have two good things in a row? Where's this playbook been? I mean,
KZ, when you get protected, you can do a lot of things.
I was talking with somebody, and they had a good point. I was actually talking with a Pittsburgh fan, and he's like, it's the same playbook they had against Pittsburgh. It's just your wide receivers dropped every ball. And I was like, that's a good point. We really don't know. Maybe that was the start of this. We really don't know how that game winds up if everybody catches the balls that they should have caught, and those guys were wide open. It wasn't like they were contested catches and things like that. I just here's for me the one thing that was most important, because I think we all thought the game was over very kind of quickly. I mean, in my mind, you just you don't go 3 and out, and it's 21-0 in a blink and think that they're coming back. But I like the fact that for the first time that I can remember in a long time, they kept the foot on the gas. They kept on going. They kept on making plays. They stayed within their offense. They didn't all of a sudden come out, up 28-0 and first down, 2-yard rush, second down, 2-yard rush, and then you're forced on a third and long. That was very refreshing to me. And that's why I was like, I joked last week that they gave Harbs a Valium because he was so calm and just taking points. And then this week it's just like a different offense because of that. And this was, I agree with what Rita said earlier, this was the offense that we were all expecting. And for, better late than never. Should it take 7 weeks to get it going? Maybe not. Like I said, the Pittsburgh game may have been the start of that, where we saw wide receivers open. But he threw Lamar. Thank God this was the national game. Maybe it'll shut people up for a little while. He can throw the ball.
No, KZ, don't even play into that. They're going to do that no matter what Lamar does. Let's not. I just ignore that. It's nonsense.
But a lot of people just look at stats sometimes, and at least everybody got to see this. By the way, this Cleveland Indianapolis game is just nuts today.
I haven't
absolutely. It's just absolutely bonkers.
What's going on? What's going on in the Cleveland Indianapolis game, guys?
It looks like Indy just threw like an 80-yard touchdown pass.
Glenn, before you speak, I want to, and look, this is something I'm gonna this is me extending my olive branch to Femi, because even though we don't agree on that, it's fine. This is me extending my olive branch to Femi, because I feel like Femi last week was like, y'all got to do something else. I am tired of seeing the same old stuff. I am tired of seeing the regular, and he said this on our radio show. And it does feel like today it was something different that we have seen in normal weeks. And Femi, you can confirm that or deny that. I don't know what you saw, but it does feel like something was different about the play calling today than it had been in previous weeks. And I agree with you that sometimes you got to get humbled a little bit to know that you got to elevate your game a little bit.
No, you're right. So this is what I saw today. Because of the pass, and we started before you guys got here, so I touched on some of this stuff in the very beginning. But philosophically, what the Ravens did early was they, instead of running predictable zone read, they went RPO in the very beginning, right? They were able to dump the ball into the flat. They were able to spread the ball around to Ricard, to Gus Edwards, and Mark Andrews. And the plays that they looked like they were going to be run plays, when Lamar kept it and threw it, it looked the same, but we hadn't seen them complete those RPOs off those looks. So that was the evolution. And I think the biggest part of that evolution was pass protection. They used the backs, the tight ends, they kept them in early to make sure Lamar had time. And man, did that pay dividends early, because Zay got open down the field. Aguilar had a couple of catches, I believe. Rashad Bateman had a couple catches early because of that. Andrews had a couple catches later in the second quarter because of that. So what it is that we have these plays that we see. And the truth of the matter is that, and I said this on the air when we were talking on Thursday night or Wednesday. Was it Wednesday night? It was Wednesday night, right? Yeah, it was
Wednesday night. Yep.
Yeah. So it's the idea that you show me the same thing, but you do something totally different, because when I see something, defenses watch film and they look at recognition and they play the percentages game. X number of percentages when they do this in 3 wides and they have this motion, this Z motion, the Z return motion, they're going to run blah, 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 blah. What the Ravens said, we're going to keep showing you that, but we haven't run this next extension off this. The reality of it is that when you get into certain packages with certain formations and motions, you should have run and pass out of those exact same things. Last week, what I said, Reeta, what you hit on, was they were disjointed. It was obvious to me when they were going to run, and it was obvious to me when they were going to pass. What I'm seeing now is a true mesh. Do you remember when the Rams were just killing everybody? You mentioned Todd Gurley. You mentioned Cooper Kupp a couple years ago with Jared Goff. Everything looked the same. They had that motion, and it was bing, 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 over the top. Bing, 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 hand it off. Bing, 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 jet sweep. You know, that's what made the Rams really hard to stop, because everything looked the same, and you had no idea what they were going to do. It was all out of 3 wides. Remember Robert Woods and all them? They were killing it, right? Well, the Ravens, just, not philosophically the same as the old school Rams, but that same idea. We're going to show you something, but there's an extension off that play that you're not ready for and you haven't seen yet. Now, I think Coach Monken is going to continue to build on that, Reeta. So you hit the nail on the head. Completely agree with you on that.
Femi, let me follow up real quick. First, what company has the expertise and technology to make your home substantially more energy efficient, comfortable, and even virus-free? It's AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. Femi, you brought up now both the play calling and the pass protection, and both I thought were significant. But early on, being able to get all of the receivers in the mix, including 2 big plays to Rashad Bateman after the week that he had a week ago, how much is that another layer to what this offense is capable of? If early in a game, you can get all of these guys touching the football, feeling like they're in it, like they're part of it, to me, that reflects this is what we thought the offense was capable of being this season.
I think it's massive, especially because you know that, and let me just say this, Odell was not playing around today. He had an attitude today. Now, I want him to get upfield. I want him to get the ball and get upfield, all that running back. No, Odell, stop all that. You're not 23 anymore. No, we don't need that. You can run, you can catch, you're elite, but let's just get the ball and let's get upfield. You're not Zay Flowers right now. You're not the human joystick right now, right? But I know that Odell is probably a little bit frustrated. He hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, and I can see it on him. I hope that he channels that positively and not disruptively. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that I see him. There's an intensity to Odell. There's a look on his face. There's a tension to him. And I know Lamar is like, look, I'm going to throw the ball to whoever's open. That's what Lamar's been doing. He's been distributing the football to 7, 8, 9, 10 receivers every game. So Lamar's doing the best he can to throw to the open guy. And if you're going to get Rashad open, Odell had some play. Everybody had a chance to touch the ball today and make a play. And ideally, that's what we want. We don't want any predictability in regard to who's going to get the football. And when we get into third down, we don't want to always think it's going to go to Mark Andrews. And it hasn't been that hasn't been the case this season. Lamar has done an amazing job of distribution of the football. And I hope that continues.
9 different pass catchers today, by the way. 9 different pass catchers. No one.
Hey, Grant, you haven't even. I saw Josh down there a minute ago, but he probably figured like me and Reeta are going to be debating all day. So he probably didn't want
we come in peace.
Yeah,
family.
Josh told me he'll get back on. You know, okay. Josh is a busy man.
Reeta, listen, I love the passion, man. I love. Hey, I'm a natural arguer. I'm a natural debater. Anyone in my family, from my kids to anyone that knows me, knows that. Hey, Femi likes to debate, so be ready.
No, it just took me back to my parents fighting when I was a little kid, man. They got divorced. I couldn't handle it anymore, so I had to jump out.
You can think what you want.
It was messing with my glow. It was messing with my Detroit curb stomp glow that I was feeling a little bit, and feeding off of Reeta dealing with the trolls online, which I loved. I was laughing.
Hey, I'm going to continue to go in all day because I saw Lions fans talk the most shit coming into this game, and I hearted and liked all of those tweets. I'm just going to continue to go back in my tweets, and I'm going to respond to everybody because this is what I'm here for.
She's got time for it today.
I love it. I'm here for that. I'm here for that show because you make me laugh because you come correct. You don't play. You're like, you can take that, you know what, and take it back to D-Town.
That's right. Take that blue wave back to D-Town.
Yeah, more like a blue whimper. But have fun.
Josh, you and I were talking about something on text that I think a lot of Ravens fans were feeling when this was going so well in the first half. There was that, okay, but it's been an issue in the second half. And one of the storylines today that I thought was important was early on, they weren't running the ball at all with the backs, right? Like they were doing all of this through the air or with Lamar and his legs, that they were able to get it going on the ground and finish this off by running the ball. And that to me was a significant part of the story because I did think that still needed to be seen about this team. You don't want this to suddenly become a team that's going to throw the ball 50, 60 times a game.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, and somebody reached out to me, I think it was Mina from ESPN. She was like, "Are you in heaven?" This is the end of the first half. And I was like, affirmative. But then I wrote to her and I said, I'll be in heaven if they can do a full game and complete it. And because that's in our 2 losses, that's what had happened. We were dominating in those games, not as complete of a game as this. I think this, to me, was the first fully complete game that I've seen on all sides of the ball where everybody was rolling on all cylinders. And it's the kind of game that we've been waiting for. I was excited to see some of those plays, some of those RPOs where it looked like Lamar was going to take off and then did a little short 4-yard pass. It was really exciting to see those wrinkles. I'm ecstatic because this is the team I thought they could be before this season started. That kind of balance. Even seeing Rashad get a couple passes in there, that was great. Get him back in the groove. Everybody, he passed the ball around. Lamar, as Femi said, it starts with the protection. I mean, I know we had some holds and my man Ronnie had a few at the end of the game, but my God, he had so much time and he was so patient and you saw such a veteran presence back there. I mean, that one where he got Aguilar in the end zone there. I mean, that was just incredible. So I'm thrilled, tickled, and feel like this hopefully is the start of this team just showing that week in and week out because let's be real, guys. They could be 7-0 right now. You know what I mean? I mean, those two losses sting, but this is phenomenal. So I'm happy, and I don't know. That's it. I'm gonna have my tea and listen to you all.
You know what? I don't know how to say it any better than that. I think that's what most of us are feeling in this moment. Like this is what we think this team is capable of when they're their best. I don't know that they're going to win every game. I don't know that they're going to win every game by this margin. But when they're playing their best, we believe this is the football they're capable of playing. Femi, I'll ask this question at the risk of starting something again between you and Reeta, and I don't want to do that. But
No, me and Reeta don't have problems. You and I have more problems. Me and Reeta,
I don't understand that.
Me and Femi always gonna be good. Me and Femi always gonna be good.
Her and I have had one debate in how many shows now? 4 or 5.
I don't understand this.
Exactly.
I thought we were better than
agree.
Yeah.
You bring up that Justice Hill has had a fumbling issue, and Rita's going to get defensive, and I'm going to let her have her piece.
I'm not going to get defensive because it's true.
Okay. All right. But I also know that you're a Justice Hill fan.
Yes.
I also know that's true.
Both things can be true.
Both things are true.
Both things can be true. I think that he's a phenomenal player, and I think that he has a fumble problem. Yes.
So okay, let me go to this. We see them try to dial something up to get Keaton Mitchell involved.
Yeah.
A lot.
That's the guy.
A lot has been made about Keaton Mitchell's speed. Obviously, I know it's even more personal. Of course, he's the son of a former teammate of yours and a guy who's responsible for one of the great plays in Baltimore Ravens history.
Yes.
Did you see a little bit today on both sides that makes you say maybe moving forward we should see a little bit more Keaton Mitchell?
Yes, Glenn, let me tell you something. Keaton Mitchell's special, man. He really is. He's explosive. He's elusive. He's got great vision. I watched him run that football, and he almost lost that football too, by the way. He almost fumbled that ball. I don't know if you guys saw that.
He did. I saw it.
Popped a little.
Because the thing is, when you're young like that, you get so excited. The most important thing is hold on to that ball. And you get a chance and you see wide open grass and your eyes get big and you forget to squeeze that football. Hey, those defenders are coming. But I'll tell you right now, I wish they would have given him like 4. And honestly, I didn't watch the very end of the game, but I wish they would have given him like 4 or 5 carries in a row at the very end of the game, just so he can get his feet wet and understand what an NFL game feels like. Because I think his ceiling is so high. Gus should be the starter. Gus is the bell cow, no doubt about it. Now, is he going to be as explosive as Justice or as Keaton? Probably not. I don't know where Keaton's ceiling really is though yet. I need to see more of him. I think that eventually, especially if Justice Hill still keeps having these lapses, Keaton Mitchell's going to take his spot. He's going to take his role. Now, Justice Hill has made leaps and bounds. He is elusive with the football. He is hard to bring down. He's hard to tackle. Like Reeta said, I think all that is true, but he also has a fumbling problem. And at the end of the day, the number one predictor of wins and losses is turnover differential. The Ravens are probably middle of the road on turnover differential, but if they're at the top of the league where they were in 2019, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's just saying. I'm not saying that's going to happen.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not arguing with Femi on that. Sorry, Glenn. You're not going to get an argument from me. I do think that Justice Hill is explosive, but I do think he has to work on his hands. I do.
Okay. KZ, you seem pretty. Yeah, I could see your face when we were talking about this.
Well, you know, I as soon as they took him as an undrafted free agent, I was all over this. I love this college tape. He's plays at a different speed, and what
are we talking about Mitchell, KZ?
Yeah. He plays at a different speed.
I just wanted to confirm. Okay.
Yeah, and he brings a dimension because I think they're trying to add speed to this. The thing that's gonna be the difference, and Femi knows this, especially with the way you saw the offense. Yes, Hill has a fumbling problem, but Hill is also maybe their best pass protector as a back. He's really good with the chips. He's really good in pass
the one he had on Hutchinson, Ken. They should bottle that up. I
didn't even see anything today with him, but just when he's been out there, like they trust him when healthy in pass pro. Is will Mitchell be the same type of pass pro guy? And what he reminds me of, and I said this, and I don't want to compare him, but the Dolphins, when A-Chain all of a sudden showed up, and Mostert is fast, like really he's fast. A track guy,
yeah.
And then A-Chain got the ball, and they're like, oh, like this guy's fast, but this guy's a different speed level and a different type of change of pace. I think he works well, and I hope they continue to work him in, and not only have him as a gadget guy, but give him some run, handing him the ball. He ran the ball very effectively in college. You know, he's a guy that, you know, you say he's small, but also in college he was handling 20-25 touches a game. His speed can be a difference for this team if they continue to use him. He can. I agree with Femi. I everything on tape I saw is he can be special.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like there. I think there's an awful lot to like. And again, to the point, I agree with everything that's being said about Justice Hill, and I'm not suggesting that he should suddenly not have a role with this football team. But if the fumbles continue, it's going to present every opportunity for there to be more snaps for Keaton Mitchell moving forward. But they might want to find some of those anyway.
I just think that the way to minimize that risk or that exposure is, one, you practice all the exchange stuff on the side, which is what most running backs and quarterbacks do, and centers do every day. Secondarily, you just don't call those plays for him. You don't call zone read with Justice Hill. You allow Justice Hill to line up in the backfield, chip and release. You run screens. You hand him the ball when it's a pure run play. You run RPO with him. It can all look the same, and nobody would ever know that you just eliminated a package from him. But you can make it all look the same still. So by no means am I suggesting that Justice Hill should not be playing. He should be playing, but he has a fumble problem. And maybe Carson, appreciate you bringing up the Ravens exactly as I thought. Middle of the pack, -1 on turnover ratio. I think after today they'll be -2. I don't know what they're going to end up depending on where everyone else is, but they're in the middle of the pack still. They need to be in the top 10, in my opinion, if they're going to win a Super Bowl. But in regard to Justice Hill, maybe Carson, you can see how many fumbles Justice Hill has had since he came into the NFL. Lost fumbles, actually total fumbles. I want to see all the fumbles that he's had.
Sure.
But that aside, he's one of their best special teams players. He's absolutely a threat. He's absolutely explosive. I just want to continue to work with him. And one of the things that Coach Harbaugh prides himself on is that every player is worthy of his complete commitment to coaching and improving. And so with that being said, Justice Hill is going to be fine. And if anything, he's a way better football player than he was a couple years ago. But, I think there are little micro details and little small things that become big things that do lead to losses down the road if you don't address them. And sometimes you've got to say, hey, we're just going to stop doing this one particular thing for a little bit. We're going to go work on that on the side, and maybe we'll bring it back in later, or we'll just do that with other people. You don't have to do everything with everyone. And running backs are synonymous with catering to a skill set. That's what running backs are being used for in the NFL right now.
A couple of things I saw from John Harbaugh after the game. He's doing a little bit of talking his ass after the game. Don't blame him at all. Just pantsed. One of the better teams in football. You might as well talk your ass.
I want to hear it. Tell him.
It said, everybody asked me about not taking a bye after London. There you go. That's a great, this is one of the things that people, why wouldn't you?
But look at KZ. KZ is not impressed at all. And I love that
because it would require him to give credit to John Harbaugh, and he's not. He is completely unwilling.
He's not
to
the
do
first. Like John Harbaugh created the fact that less and less teams have been doing it over the years. It's like, come on.
KZ, but he made a choice to not take the bye. That was his decision.
Right.
He's the head
That
coach.
was his decision.
So
Right.
you got to give him some credit for that. I mean, that's just the reality of it. He
made
a choice this time.
KZ's not going to do that. He's not going to do it.
And KZ, John Harbaugh is going into the Hall of Fame.
You kicked their butt. It had nothing to do with the bye.
Let me tell you something, KZ. John Harbaugh is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day too, by the way. I know you don't like that, but it's happening.
HWO is going to the Hall of Fame. KZ, HWO is going. Are you going to be there when it happens?
we might actually have to pay to take Ken. We might actually have to arrange that. When
I will go in my HWO shirt.
Oh, would you stop it? This guy, he can't leave it alone. He's not capable of it.
He's fumbled 3 times in his career. Justice Hill. Thank you, Carson.
No, but those are on runs though. Those aren't on catches. Remember the fumble he had, you know what I mean?
Try to see. We'll keep Carson on that.
Yeah, I'll give you an update in a second. Now I've looked through
and also too, the other thing is, are those fumbles that are lost? Are those and in regard to like the mesh, like today, who's going to get credit for that fumble?
Yeah, Lamar was given that fumble.
Okay,
so yeah, that's a difficult thing statistically to track.
Well, that's what I said earlier.
Here
we go again.
Fumble.
Hey, they can. Hey, listen, those people in New York, they can do whatever they want statistically. I played the game. I know how this works. I know exactly who's responsible for what, and they don't get everything right statistically. And I'm telling you right now, he has way more fumbles than that, particularly on the exact same thing. And if the quarterback's getting it for him, well, cool, more power to him then. It doesn't look as bad on his career statistics. But I'm telling you right now, when they get into the office and they sit down and talk about it, we know who's going to be held responsible. And the truth of the matter is that they probably both have some blame in it at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like the exchange is the mesh, and it's not like a zero-sum game, right? It's probably, we can nuance it 80-20, 70-30. But at the end of the day, we all can see what we see. We know it's been a problem. And another thing,
I agree with that for sure.
And the other thing that I'll say is that we don't have a lot to talk about today. So we're probably picking at things, right, that we have probably had on our minds for a little bit. And when you have a big win like this, it's easy to kind of look at some of the things that you say, hey, I'd like to clean that up, or that wasn't done the way that I'd like to see it, because we're all kind of in a jovial and good mood. So, we'll have a good time talking shit to each other a little bit.
All right. I want to run two things by before we start to wind things down. The first being, and this was presented to me on Twitter by someone named Dave, who said typical Ravens play down to bad competition, play up to good competition. Femi, there's no way for us to define this. I can't. I'll send Carson scrambling around for whatever statistic that I can have, but it is a reputation that this franchise has garnered, and Ken would point to John Harbaugh as part of this. And I don't know that it's unfair that we would say this. The Ravens played a team that was getting tons of hype coming into today, and they came out and they were extraordinarily sharp. Is it a fair generalization that people make? And is it then equally as important that next week when they go to Arizona, that they play just as sharp to prove this isn't about the level of competition. This is now just about who the Ravens are, and this is what we do.
Yeah, I think that it's fair to make that kind of broad statement if they want to, but the fact of the matter is that the Ravens have been one of the most consistent organizations in football for 20 years. I do agree, and we talked about this last week, there have been 10 games since 2021 that the Ravens had a fourth quarter lead in and lost. Right. So that's the epitome of playing down. And I think that the biggest issue for me is that a lot of those losses, see, if the Ravens went out there and just played a tough, clean game and lost, I'd probably be okay. Well, hey, they played a tough, clean game and they lost by 3, and that team had the edge that day. But when you make mistakes that are self-inflicted, or when you're not aggressive enough and you start predictably running the football because you have a 21-point lead or a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, that's your own fault. That's a philosophical issue that I have. So although the broad statement is true, I think how the mechanics of that work and how they got there matters. You know what I mean? So that's, I know it's a small nuance, but I think that the way that I nuance it leads me to more optimism in the future, because today showed me that they didn't have to take their foot off the gas. They could be aggressive the whole time, but also not take unnecessary risk. And that's the formula. And I think when they've lost those games they had leads in since 2021, that's not how they deployed their strategy. So that's, I know it's a small nuance, but I think I'm agreeing, Glenn, but I think there's a narrative there that's a little bit different than I think what that narrative says in your statement. Does that make sense?
No, I think I think if we broadly tried to say the Ravens always play poorly against bad teams, fact would not back that up. That's not true.
The data does not back that up.
And it's also similarly not true that they always play their best games against good teams, right?
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
not, those broad statements don't work. But I do understand when people, it's gonna sound like I'm agreeing with KZ. I want to make it abundantly clear. Everybody knows that Ken and I do not share this opinion about John Harbaugh. But one of the things that is discussed about John Harbaugh is it's almost college-like, right? Like that his emotion tends to build in big moments, that, you see him celebrating the way that he did in the Cincinnati game on the sideline after that game was over, that rivalry types of games mean something to him. It's a more collegiate-like atmosphere that you get around that. And when that's brought up, I always push back and say, I don't know. I think guys like that.
They absolutely like that. I absolutely like that. What you can't, so this is the thing, right? You have, let me use Elon Musk as an example. You have this person who's a genius, but he does some dumb shit too. You can't cut out the dumb shit and just take the genius part and go, I just want that. No, what makes him genius is the fact that he does dumb shit, right? The fact that what makes Coach Harbaugh great is that he's one of the guys. He's a player's coach. He gets down in there with them. He celebrates with them. He's emotional with them. He's high with them. He's low with them. Players love that. They can talk to him about anything. They can sit down with him and chat and have an open conversation about anything. I know this for a fact because I've been in that locker room. I was a coaching intern under Coach Harbaugh. My brother played for Coach Harbaugh for 5 years. I'm speaking from experience, not from some guessing game about outside the building. I know for a fact. And you cannot, cut that part out of it. You take it all or you take none of it. And what I would say is when you look back at the legacy of John Harbaugh, it's a Hall of Fame legacy with the Baltimore Ravens. That's undebatable. Look at the win percentage. Look at the Super Bowls. Look at the playoff appearances. Look at the playoff wins. Look at the players. What?
Uh-oh, here you go. There you go.
Super Bowl.
Okay, my bad. So the Ravens have 2 Super Bowls, but yes, he has one. Hey, Casey, I'm glad you feel good about taking that little jab, but it does not diminish my point.
Because look, I agree with you, Femi. Femi, I agree with you. They're going to put him in the Hall of Fame.
He earned it.
Okay, he won a Super Bowl, and he's got it. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's been to the playoffs 10 out of 15 years that he's been a head coach. I'm not debating any of that. This is where we get to, and I don't get too high on wins like this. It's a very good win. I think Lamar now is 18-1 against the NFC in his career, something like that.
16-1.
They 18-1. They
16,
had struggled.
16-1.
They had struggled over their last 7 or 8 games against teams that had winning records that were turned out to be playoff teams. They were only 1-7 or 1-6. Now 3 of those games were without
how many
Lamar.
of those games did Lamar play in?
I just said Femi. I said 3 of those games.
Casey, look.
3 of those games were without Lamar.
Lamar.
John Harbaugh needs to start winning in the playoffs. He needs to start winning in the playoffs, Femi.
He already won in the playoffs. He already won a Super Bowl. You've already noted that.
See, but how long is that good for? Is that good forever?
It's good forever. It's good forever. You can't take it away.
So 10 out of the last 10 years, even though they've had this great winning percentage and they've hosted home playoff games, it's okay that they've only had 2 playoff wins in the last 10 years. That's okay, right?
If you don't look at the narratives beyond, like last year, for example, Tyler Huntley was a starting quarterback for the last 5 or 6 games, and the year before that. The nuance and the details matter. When you don't have everybody, you're not at full power, that matters. What I'm saying is that, and I'm going to tell you the truth. If I thought that John Harbaugh was not the right coach for the Baltimore Ravens anymore, I would come on here and I would say that. I don't believe that's the case. Do you believe that's the case? Do you believe that John Harbaugh should not be the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens?
I want a coach that wins in the playoffs.
I don't care about that. I'm asking you a direct question.
I do.
Do you believe that John Harbaugh? No, I care about that. I care about playoff wins. But my point is, do you believe John Harbaugh should not be the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens? And who are you going to hire if he's not the head coach?
Don't go there. Don't go there. Okay. Do I think he should be the coach? No, I don't think he should be the coach. I think many years ago, if Lamar didn't save his job, he wouldn't be here. And to say who do I want? That's not the point, because who was John Harbaugh? When John Harbaugh walked in the door, nobody knew who he was.
That's not true.
Fans didn't know who he was.
I don't care. That's not relevant to me. I'm not a fan.
He came out. He came out of that interview and wowed everybody and was named. There's always another guy that's going to be wow somebody.
But KZ, Jason Garrett was the other guy. Did you want Jason Garrett over John Harbaugh?
I never wanted Jason Garrett. See, Reeta, when they hired Harbaugh, I was fine with it because I didn't want Jason Garrett.
Okay.
This isn't that we always get this mixed up. Don't think that I never wanted John Harbaugh to be the coach of the Baltimore Ravens.
You just don't want him there now. You want someone else
Correct.
now.
Correct.
Okay, first of all, I definitely don't agree with that.
I know. Nobody does.
Second, that should tell you something, KZ. That should tell you something. And so the bottom line is there are 26 teams in the NFL that would love to have John Harbaugh as their head coach, and I'm happy he's our head coach. So you can't win them all. There can only be one champion every year, and you take the highs and you take the lows and you critique and you look at everything. You go, how does the team respond to him? Do the players like him? Do the coaches like him? Does the front office like him? Do him and Eric have a great relationship? Does he have a great relationship with the owner? Does he embody the culture and the mental and emotional reflection of this organization? To a T, he does. And if you're going to tell me it doesn't matter who they're going to hire, what? You're gonna fire somebody without a plan?
I didn't say it doesn't matter.
Somebody, and you don't have.
I didn't say it
idea?
didn't matter. It always matters, just like it mattered when they hired him before. But to come up with the argument, well, who are they going to hire? I couldn't tell you until we figure out who's going to interview. I didn't know John Harbaugh when he first interviewed. Maybe people around the league did.
KZ, you can look at every coordinator on every team right now. You can see how they've done as coordinators. You can look at the college ranks. We could put together a list of 20 people. Like I could have one for you in an hour.
Great.
No problem.
It's really nice for me that this is Femi that gets to do this time and not me.
Glenn's over it.
And not.
You got Femi doing your dirty work, Glenn.
Yep.
You got Femi doing your dirty work.
At some point, you can't write things in pen. You got to write them in pencil. And you got to say, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about this, or maybe I was wrong about that, or maybe he's better than I thought, or maybe he deserves an opportunity. Like once you land on something, it sounds like you made a decision a couple years ago about John Harbaugh, and you're just stuck on that decision. Even if he wins a Super Bowl, if he wins a Super Bowl this year, what are you going to say, KZ?
I'm out. I have nothing to stand on. I have nothing to stand on. I have nothing to Femi, if he wins a Super Bowl this year, I have nothing to stand for. He's coach for life. He's in the Hall of Fame and all of that stuff. But if they go on the flip side, if they go into the playoffs again and have a home playoff game, and whatever reasons are behind it, they lose again in the first round of playoffs. We're now going on 11 years, and it will be 2 playoff wins. And I'll say this, because he won a Super Bowl, I expect them to be in the playoffs every year. So all this, I mean, it's great. I understand this and the critique and everything. I think they're a playoff team. I think they could win the division this year, because I think everybody else in the division is actually trash. Cleveland's proven it again.
That's not true.
Okay. Well,
that's not true.
You and I don't think Pittsburgh's that good. I don't think Cleveland's that good. They don't have a quarterback. And I don't know what is wrong with Cincinnati right now, but they have to figure it out.
Yeah, well, we'll see when the season ends. But KZ, I think
the Browns won.
There's a lot of nuance.
Yeah, they came back.
You seem very 0 or 100 on things. For me, I don't live at 0 or 100. I live in somewhere between 70 and 90. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's nuance, there's details, and the facts matter, and the narrative matters, and how things unfold matters, and who's available matters, and the choices the coaches make with the clock and timeouts and challenges, all that stuff matters. I need to see it all in totality, and then I'll tell you what I think. But to sit here and make a blanket statement about what's going to happen and why this should happen because of that without knowing the story, no, I don't get down like that. That's not how I operate.
They won.
Okay, that's fine.
They won 38-6 today over one of the 5 best teams in the NFL.
Oh, it was a great and again, nobody's arguing that.
I don't know if they won or not based on the
Unbelievable.
Like I said, we're bored. We're bored now.
Yeah, right. Now we're just
we're going down rabbit holes, and now we're cannibalizing each other.
Exactly what happens. We need to be able to debate a 4th down call. We've got nothing to debate today.
This is what Glenn has done
for years.
For about 7 years.
KZ, I'm watching Glenn and Rita smile.
He'll start a whole conversation, and then he'll go, let's go to KZ.
I'm going to tell you now, Glenn is over there enjoying this. Glenn is enjoying this banter because Glenn doesn't have to be responsible for this banter this week. He is loving y'all going back and forth about this.
Oh, God. KZ and his Harbaugh truthers. God, we normally.
I need to watch a game. I need to watch a game with KZ while we're having.
You don't.
Yes, you do. No, you do.
Yes, I do.
You do.
I do. KZ, I agree.
I agree.
KZ, me and you. Before the season is done, we're gonna be on screen together in the same room.
I love it.
And we're gonna watch a game.
Oh,
let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Are y'all sure about this?
You're gonna regret that decision, Femi. You're gonna regret
this, Femi. Femi, this is a bad idea. I don't love this idea. I'm letting you know now. I don't love it.
Rita, it's a great idea. You know it's a great idea.
Oh, God. Hey, this was fun. If you're looking for some betting action tonight, go to superbook.com right now. The Eagles 3-point favorites against the Dolphins. Tomorrow night, the Niners 7-point favorites against the Vikings. When you sign up with Superbook, use the code GlennClark23. You'll get up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Superbook.com or the Superbook app. May they all be 38-6 wins so we can sit here and just get into these absolutely nonsense, ridiculous
conversations.
We actually had time to do the condiment conversation. We could have done that instead of doing it. We could have done that this week. Yeah.
Glenn, I got one for you. Oway had a strip sack today.
He did.
Yes,
he did have a strip sack. You know what? I tell you what.
did.
I tell you what. We'll revisit this before we wrap up. Then I'm glad you brought it up, KZ. Femi, where are you at? We are now 9 days away from the trade deadline. Where are you at with what you would want to see the Ravens consider over the course of the next week and a half?
I mean, I feel pretty good with their trajectory right now, but if I'm looking at depth, you know, I don't. This is going to sound crazy because I probably wouldn't have said this a couple weeks ago because the defense is actually playing better.
Really
I think they're going to be a top 5 defense, but I mean, they're probably the best defense in the NFL right now. You know what I mean?
No. Can we not talk about? I feel like every time we bring this up is every opportunity that Mike McDonald leaves.
We're gonna ruin
it.
No.
How
about this? They're one of the best.
It's
They're one of the best. They're one of the best.
It's not that it's going to be ruined. My fear, and I think this is already in place, is that Mike McDonald is gone after this year. I just want us to start talking bad about Mike McDonald so that other teams can hear us and not think that Mike McDonald is as good as he is.
Because what we say is going to affect
what
we say is going to affect the front office of other teams, right? Like they're going to hear us.
Yeah.
Reeta and KZ said that
after that high level conversation about John Harbaugh, are you kidding me? They're all turning to us, Femi. This is where they turn for their information.
Hey, Glenn, to answer your question, I don't really see a hole right now, but I can tell you right now that full transparency. I'm not in that building. I'm sure that Eric has a way more detailed board of his wish list of things that he might want to solidify this team before the trade deadline. And if the right opportunity presents itself, I don't know what position or what player that would be. You know, you can never have enough front 7 guys. You can never have enough pass rushers. You can never have enough corners.
I agree.
Right. So
I agree.
You know, if that's what I have to lean on, because right now I feel like I don't really see anybody offensively that's going to come in here and be a difference maker offensively.
Where you don't feel that, because we remember that you felt that way about Jonathan Taylor. You don't feel that way about Saquon Barkley.
I just don't think it's realistic. I just don't see Saquon coming here. You know what I mean? Now, if you could get Saquon without giving up a 1st round pick, yeah, I'd be all for it. But I just don't see that happening.
Okay. Reeta, where are you at?
I'm with him. I don't think that you could ever be without pass rushers. And we know that the Ravens love defensive backs, so that's something that they're probably thinking about. Because remember, they were playing for Xavier Howard last year as well. I you know, if they do make a change, I do wonder if it is somebody on the offensive side. But again, I'm with Femi in the sense that I don't think Saquon is going to be up for grabs, and they already mentioned that Devontae Adams is not going to be traded. So I don't know who else you would think that would come in here and make a considerable difference to what it is that they're doing already.
KZ, you have a wish list at this point?
It's not really a wish list. I wouldn't. I don't know if there's another corner that would be on the market. I know. It's really tough when you look at the last 2 weeks with how they've played defensively to start. Doing things, looking to replace guys. But I think another, higher level corner, I think, Millett and Stevens, they've done a nice job, but they've also had their moments where they've gotten a little bit lost. Probably an edge guy as well. Just because you're, Clowney and Van Noy have come in here and played really, really well. I worry, I don't think that at the beginning of the season you wanted those guys playing as many snaps as they're having to play right now. So I guess I worry a little bit about the depth at that position. So I wouldn't be opposed if they made a move to help the depth and just bring another guy in the rotation.
Sure.
So those guys don't break down. Offensively, you know what? If this is the playbook, I think they're good offensively. I mean, would we say no to Saquon? Of course you don't say no to Saquon, but then you're giving up, not only are you giving up whatever pick that is, but then you also have to pay him. if you're not renting it, unless you just, hey, we're going to go throw all of our eggs into one basket and go after the Super Bowl and we'll worry about next year. Okay, that's a strategy as well. But if you're not gonna bring a guy like that in and then say you're gonna pay him, I think, another corner and another pass rusher is probably the way to go.
Can I bring up one position that you guys didn't bring up, and we'll wrap with this? I hate saying it because I actually think he played well today, but if there was one weak link this season along the offensive line, I think we'd argue it was John Simpson, right? And so I think if there was an upgrade, particularly someone who's a bit more physical, more of a road grader that could help you with running the ball a little bit, I think if a player like that was out on the market, an upgrade at left guard, I'd be interested in.
I think that's fair as well.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think that Keaton Mitchell is going to be that explosive addition, but he's already in your locker room. They're going to work him in.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wish they would have just given him like 4, 5, 6 carries in a row at the end of that game just to get him going. But I
agree with that. Because at that point, what's the point at that point, right? Like, and they're already up. So I agree with you.
Get his feet wet, get him comfortable, get him understanding that, like, hey, this is how it's going to be, and you're going to be involved, and we're going to count on you. I agree. You're going to get your 5 touches a game. I want to see the ball in his hand 5 times a game. That's what I want to see. He got what, 2 today? 2 touches today?
I guess he just had the one. Yeah,
did he just have the one?
Yeah, just had the one.
Okay.
Yeah,
man. But you saw him though, man. He looked so good. He looked so good.
It's obvious. All right, gang. This was fun. I did enjoy this a great deal, even when we were screaming at each other.
This was one of the better episodes, dog. Because we had nothing else to really talk about. So all we did today was debate each other.
Right.
We debated each other all day. So I would love to debate with you all for the rest of the season. That would be my favorite thing, that we don't have to actually talk about losses, and we could talk about like stupid things like, do we think John Harbaugh should be the coach of the Baltimore
Ravens? There's Ken Zales for us. That's what we've got.
There you go.
We are not. It's going to be a couple weeks for our next Tyus Bowser show. We decided to take the Halloween week off because we thought everybody was going to have plans that Tuesday night. So we'll be back out. Femi, we'd love to have you come out for one of those before the season is over.
That would be
we'd love to have you come out and hang
out
out with us.
Hey, can I ask you guys one question? And I'm going to ask Reeta. Can I ask Reeta? I'm going to ask Reeta directly.
By all means.
Reeta, is Tyus going to play this year? Is he going to be okay?
He told us at the show that he was not giving up on the season. That's what he said.
That doesn't sound good.
We are at week 8 coming up.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time he has left, because there's only 9 games left to be played after, coming up. But the way he spoke was that he will be on the field. I am holding out hope that maybe he finds a way, and that if when the Ravens reach the playoffs, that he will be available down the stretch and make this defense better. I would like to hope that, but I have no idea. Like, Tyus gave us the most vague response.
Is there specificity on the actual injury? Like,
nope.
The actual injury?
No, we have no idea.
And I think that we understand more that because it was NFI, he doesn't want there to be any specificity, Femi, because there's going to be a fight about, does he get paid? Do the Ravens get out of it because it was NFI? Like, I think he's purposely doing everything in his power to keep there from being any specificity about it, which is certainly frustrating from the outside.
The only way to end any nonsense is to come out and play in ball. Because if he comes out and plays in ball, all is forgiven.
Nothing matters at that point. No doubt.
If he doesn't, guys, it's going to be a problem.
Yep, it's going to be tough. No question about it. But what doesn't change is he's a 10 as a human being, and he's still coming out and taking this time. And you know what? By the way, shout out to Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon came out last Tuesday. We had a mob scene on our hands, like a mob scene. Femi, you and I remember you coming out when we were doing the show with your brother.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you and I ever did a live show together.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. So, and that the season that I did with your brother brought like Ray out. I mean, he brought Flacco out one night. Like, we had mob scenes, but Jadeveon, it was a mob scene on Tuesday night, and he sat there and took pictures and signed autographs for every freaking person that showed up. And I got to give all the love in the world to Jadeveon Clowney, because he didn't have to do that at all. He received $0 for his time. He just said, I want to come out. I want to ingratiate myself in the community. I really, and you could sense, you know, obviously I think a lot of people know about the negativity of his time in Cleveland. It was very public at the end, the negativity of his time in Cleveland, but the experience that he is having in Baltimore, it was wild to see how much that meant to him. So a huge shout out to Jadeveon Clowney.
Jadeveon is very thoughtful. I really like listening to him talk because he's very introspective and he seems very transparent and honest. I love that about him. So
I do too.
And he's a football freak.
No doubt.
Yes,
Oh, wow. He's
yes.
been what a season he has had.
He whispered to me the whole time during the Tigers game, like, we should be 6-0. We should be. I mean, you can tell it bothers him that they lost those 2 games. So that you want that from somebody that's on his team. You want somebody that's passionate about what it is that they're doing, and he's just like, I just want us to get to the Super Bowl. I know we got the team to do it. He believes that the Ravens have the nucleus of getting to the Super Bowl. So that's the part that I love about Jadeveon.
Amen. I love that.
Awesome. I need y'all to remind me that if I ever do the show in this room again, I need to turn the fan on because I'm just looking at how awful I look on the screen.
You do look a little red.
Glenn, don't tell on yourself, Glenn.
Yes,
Glenn, you look amazing, Glenn.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
And don't ever tell on yourself. Don't ever tell on yourself. Don't do it.
Get out of Glenn like that. He do look a little flush. You do look a little flush.
It is bad in this room right now. All right. Love you guys. Yeah, we'll be back. Tyus Bowser's show on November 7th. Rita's headed out to Arizona, but she will be with us post game next Sunday from Live on Location. I hear Andrew Stecca is also going to be live on location next Sunday, so you guys can link up. That'll be cool. I look forward to that. Thanks to AJ Michaels. Thanks to Superbook, helpmygamblingproblem.org. Thanks to Carson, KZ, Josh Charles, Femi. Love you, brother. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Rita. Oh, I will talk to you on Wednesday. You won't be there with me, but I will talk to you on Wednesday.
But I will talk to you Wednesday. Yep.
All right.